What kind of theme song?
I don't know.
What about this?
Oh, you sped it up now
Does this make
too?
you want to rave? You look like you go to raves. Do you go to raves out in like Las Vegas? Do you go to the
What?
EDD thing?
EDD
Ain't
or
that what it's called?
EDC?
Whatever. Clearly, I don't go, but you look like you go. And
What
listen
makes
to
me
this
look
music.
like I go? I want to know what makes me look like I go to EDC or those dance festivals or music festivals.
You fit the description.
What's the description? Go ahead, let's say it. What
You.
fits the description? No. What about me fits that description?
You fit the description.
What's the description?
Greg Panelli.
You sound like Kanye West right now.
Anyways, we are
We
live
know
right
where
now.
you're going with that, Crocker.
Oh man, hey, listen, my guy, Lake City Fresh. Panelli is definitely a raver. Hell yeah.
I'm honestly, that's not raving. That's like the Italian, what is it? The Jersey Shore show, the fist pumping and all that stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, it's all the same to me.
I'm not a raver.
So what
honestly,
do ravers do?
I'm not going to offend any ravers because there might be some in the chat. So I don't know.
All right. Anyways, y'all, I'm Crocker. That's Panelli. You know what I'm saying? And together we are Crocker and Panelli. Listen, okay, that was corny. Look, I'm still trying to figure out this whole thing. We got a title that we really don't go by. We're on this YouTube channel. We really got to make the new one. We got to make. There's a lot of stuff we got to work through, but just know tonight y'all getting a fire show. Y'all know that. We're live on Twitter as well. So if y'all on Twitter right now, come over to YouTube and just type in Eric Crocker. It'll pop up. And we're about to get into this film breakdown.
Yep.
Greg, you before we dive into the film,
Yep.
watching it live. All right, what were some of your thoughts watching it live? And then obviously we'll get all your thoughts on the film.
Watching it live, it's, there's always these initial reactions, these things on throws or these things on run plays or these things on, opinions on certain calls that shouldn't have gone certain ways or whatever. And my initial thoughts were that the 49ers just got flat out beat and shot themselves in the foot a lot of times on stupid penalties. And that was my take watching it live. And then I go back and look at it, and the penalties are extremely costly in a lot of the situations that we had. But there were some little things within the film. It's just like poor execution, poor reads from running backs, from the quarterback, or execution on the O-line. There's a lot of things on the defense, obviously, and I'd leave that stuff up to you that I think the defense could have done a little bit better on. Blown coverages from what it looks like. It just every time something got rolling, it seemed like we're taking a couple steps back, and that's definitely not a recipe for success. It's not a recipe to go win against a team that is skilled. But once I go back and watch the film, in comparison, both quarterbacks, a lot of people came out and said, Jimmy just
wait. When you say both quarterbacks, are you
talking about
comparing Jimmy Garoppolo to Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm talking about both.
Sure
I'm not talking about Brock Purdy jumping in there at the end on garbage time. So when you look at both quarterbacks, people are going to say, oh, that's crazy. It's crazy. I went back and watched the film. I've text Erica. What time did we talk on the phone earlier? 3:00. Yeah. I've been watching the film for the last 4 hours. Okay. And it's not just this, I'm breezing through it and just taking my opinions and trying to spit it out. No, I'm trying to give a truthful opinion and observation on what I see and grade out people based on what's on film, right? Not just on opinions of who likes Jimmy and who hates Jimmy and who likes the O-line and who doesn't and who likes whatever.
Or certain things you might see from a receiver that you call me about while I'm in the middle of watching my daughter play soccer.
I'm looking at everybody and everything and every single We can't pull it all. Like literally, we would spend 4 or 5 hours watching film, right? So we're
I
gonna
think
take it.
based on how many clips you made me cut up, we might spend 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. So I sent you a ton of clips, but there was the from the difference between Mahomes and Jimmy in this game. Mahomes threw a pick. He threw a couple stupid balls, like really stupid balls. You look at it like, what the hell was he even thinking on this, right? And then there's a couple with Jimmy. It's the same thing, right? And they basically took a couple deep shots. They got a couple deep shots. They got one that post over the top. I think I put it in the film where he had that big shot over the top. Who was our corner that blew it there?
It was
Um,
Traverse Word.
no, not that one.
Oh.
Was it Lenore?
If it's in the film, I mean, I haven't.
I think it was. But anyways, it's just they got a couple deep shots. We didn't hit a ton of deep shots. Their whole offense executed. There was a couple screen plays they had that we've thrown the same type of screens. They had blockers out front. You go back and watch the film. We didn't necessarily have blockers out in front. So they took some small plays and turned them into big ones, and then they took a couple shots downfield and they got those shots. That was pretty much the difference. Everything else, I mean, you watch Pat Mahomes worked a lot of the underneath throws. Every time the Niners brought pressure, he found a dump off. So there wasn't a ton of, I guess, sexy throws within this game from Mahomes after watching the film. And Jimmy, I thought, did a better job this game. And honestly, the last couple of games of blitz pickup, recognizing safeties rolling down, dumping it off to receivers when he should. Now, obviously, he didn't do it 100% of the time, but overall, I heard some people or see some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, Jimmy deserves an F. He failed this game." I really don't think so. If you want to grade out the game and take your feelings aside and how you feel about Jimmy, who's supposed to be the backup quarterback this year, right? Take the feelings and put them aside. Jimmy definitely doesn't deserve an F for this game. I'll tell you that. Or there was no failure. I don't think he deserves a D. I'd say a C plus because, the interception in the red zone. Otherwise, I don't think if he doesn't throw that pick, I'd say Jimmy probably get a B minus given what he was, given the play calls that he was throwing on the field. So that's just my opinion. Now everybody's
we're gonna get to the film, and
yeah, we're gonna
they'll be able to
look
see
at it, and there's a
exactly.
bunch of different things on there. So going to this comment, who's this? Sorry,
Right here. So the thing that kills me is Jimmy never throws the ball away. He always gets a pick when it matters.
I would say the throwaway. Look, we're going to talk about that on film. I know which one you guys are talking about. It's obviously the red zone pick.
What do you have to say to just Jimmy never throws the ball away?
I will
literally
say that Jimmy
can't.
does not throw the ball away very much. I will say that. You're right.
Yeah.
1000%. He doesn't necessarily throw the ball away or throw it in an area that kind of looks like it's going to be a completion, but it's in the ground intentionally. So yeah, that's something obviously that I would say that Jimmy needs to work on. A lot of the route concepts that he has, there's something typically underneath for him to dump it off to. So there's some plays where you want him to throw away, but there's some plays where he'll just dump it off or try and dump it off over the middle rather than just chucking it over into the benches on the sideline. So is that pick a lack of arm strength? I don't think that's a lack of arm strength, because if you go back and watch the film, there's plenty of throws downfield where obviously he can get the ball down the field, but his feet weren't set on that pick. He's getting pressure. It was cover zero. And I think that realistically, that's one of those ones that was a double in route from the outside receivers, and Kittle's running a corner. So it's basically a natural pick play. They're trying to throw that corner route to Kittle. In all reality, you got to kind of wind up with everything, since your feet aren't underneath you and he's almost shoulder square to the line of scrimmage. You really got to coil up or try and create some torque with that front side shoulder really quickly, and then unwind the ball or unwind it and let go of the ball. And it looks like he tries to be a little bit too touchy on that instead of just trying to throw that thing to the back corner of the end zone. And if he catches it, great. If he doesn't, so be it. But that wasn't necessarily my issue with that play. I think the more of the issue is, again, we'll look at it where it was cover zero. They bring 7 guys and there's nobody on Wilson out of the backfield running that Texas route.
I have a question for you here, or Damon does. When it comes to the quarterback position, what is the most improbable and what is not?
That's a good question. I guess it's a case by case thing. I don't know if that's QBs overall. I think what thing the biggest thing is seeing the field, right? Understanding what defenses are giving you pre-snap and post-snap, being able to make reads on the fly. And you get that with experience. You get that with more game time. Obviously, um, the more youthful quarterbacks don't see it as well as somebody who's in the league for a while. But I think that the feet are huge. If we can get somebody to set their feet, me training quarterbacks. So if I'm watching film, if I'm watching Jimmy, and I would go coach Jimmy this week, a lot of it would be, um, or not even necessarily just after watching this tape, but watching tape for the last year and a half, 2 years really 3 years since the knee injury, is he gets his shoulder square or he gets his hip square to the line of scrimmage a lot. So he'll stand, if I'm throwing the ball down the field this way, instead of my shoulders being, uh, upfield this way, um, you watch Jimmy kind of work in the pocket, and he'll get to this point where he'll square up his shoulders, and now you have your feet square to the line of scrimmage, your hip square, your shoulder square. You have to create power with your upper half only. You're not stepping into throws, and I don't see Jimmy, especially driving the ball downfield. He'll get his feet into it, but there's a lot of shorter balls where I think he can help himself out by getting his feet in line, creating straight line throws. So ideally, if you want to create straight line throws on the field, whether it's outs or corners or, cutting receivers off with your front step. And I think that's one thing that he can help himself out with. But I think it's a case by case thing because each guy does things really well, or really bad that they need to improve on. So
I like it. There was one other thing, real quick, and we will touch on that because this show and really everything that I do outside of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. And our guy Valdez here says, down bad on Underdog, got to make a show about bets.
hey,
I'm
you
doing
know
well.
what?
I'm
I was
doing
gonna
well.
say this is a perfect Valdez is a perfect comment because I do not do sports betting. I don't do it, never done it. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I went to Vegas like a month and a half ago, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just go for it on Underdog. I'm gonna use the promo code Crocky and see what I can and make happen. So I put $100 in, and they matched my $100, and I am now down like $300 in the last 2 weeks. And there's these bets that I'm texting Croc on the side like, hey, what are you thinking this week?
I
And
send
I'm
you
going for
my
it.
my.
You send me a couple, but you send me like the $20 3-person bet. I want to get like $20 and make 600 out of it or whatever. And it hasn't happened for me yet. And I'm not the most excited about it. I missed one last week. I would have made all my money back. David, was it? It was Njoku needed 3.5 catches. I took the over on it, and that was my brother's pick. I gave him one pick when it was the week that the Chiefs and the Bills played. And I said, here to my little brother, gave him my phone. I said, make one pick on it. And he made the pick for Njoku to get higher than 3.5, and he got 3. So I lost $600 on that one. So,
Well, anyways,
yeah, no,
if you want to
I'm
get
down
close to
bad too.
winning, if you want to get close to winning like Greg, or you want to win like me, because I've been cleaning the house. I've been cleaning up on Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Crocky, and they will double your deposit up to $100. So if you put in $50, they'll give you an extra $50. Now you got $100 to play with. If you put in $100, they'll give you $100. So now you got $200 to play with. And I'm telling you, every dollar matters. It's a lot of fun, a lot of anxiety, but it makes every game a lot more interesting. All right. We are about to get into the film right now, but one last super chat right now. Could he still have problems with his left knee that causes him to not step into his throws? I cracked my left ankle and can never throw fast. Can't throw as fast as before. So essentially, what he's saying is Jimmy Garoppolo, he tore his ACL. Him not stepping into throws doesn't have anything to do with the ACL injury.
I honestly do think so. I noticed that that was like the first thing. I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus when I was playing college football, and you play with that knee brace on, or you're playing with guys that are in front of you that are getting pushed back, and that's the plant leg as you're stepping into the pocket or stepping into a ball to throw it. And since the first couple games when he came back, I watched it right away where his left hip would fly open more than stepping downhill with his front foot. So in all reality, he's not really driving the ball this way. It's more opening the hip and trying to create power with his arm. So I do think he's a little bit timid, and I think it's probably something in the back of his head. And I know it's going to be tough to overcome, but as a professional athlete, you would hope that you could overcome it, but I still think that it's lingering. That's my only explanation on, honestly, just because I do see the same things where he doesn't step out, and that goes back to my conversation of keeping his shoulders or getting his shoulders and hips square to the line of scrimmage rather than keeping his front side downfield a little bit more. So somebody else also said, remember the footage of last week where Jimmy had a few bad overthrows on rollouts? That's when I knew where the 49ers were in trouble. I'll tell you this, and I saw a couple of the throws, and my first reaction was shit happens. My second one was if people saw half the footage from our training sessions with some of these professional quarterbacks and athletes, their opinions would probably be polar opposites of what they see on Sundays. And Crocker has seen a few of them. And that goes for some of the top quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, the dudes on my shirt. And it goes for some of the receivers that I've been around. So luckily, there wasn't, I don't remember a ton of bad balls or bad throws that happened on Sunday, after I watched the film. So thankfully it didn't happen on Sunday. And as long as those things don't happen on Sunday, then so be it. So,
all right, here we go. So got the first play here. Jimmy Garoppolo drops back, play action, bounces around.
Yeah.
Throws it high.
So,
all right. Do you want to watch it from this view or the next view?
No, this view's fine for a second. And you know what? I'm gonna throw some shade at you, Crocker. And if anybody out there has and it doesn't look as bad here. Some people will say it looks clear, but it doesn't look as bad. But if anybody out there has a way to cut clips to where they're not as blurry, put it in the comments, because I'm just curious. Because I know some people say,
yeah, let me know, because I'm watching.
No, I'm very curious. I don't know if it's something where we need to pull it and put it on like PowerPoint, because I know some coaches obviously use PowerPoint, and then we can draw on the screen and do those things. But I'm always curious, because I know if you take the clips or screen record them and then try and upload them, it might come out blurry. So pause it right here real quick, though. So
I'm looking on Twitter right now, right? I can see us on the screen because I have two screens, and it looks clear. So I'm on.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it looks.
It's a little blurry. No, it's a little blurry. It is.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit. So we're gonna have to work with it. It's all good. So going back to this is a levels concept. Scat protection, which is a 5-man protection against the 40-man front here. Scat protection means empty. It's just a 5-man protection. Excuse my dog in the background. And this looks to be a cover 2 here on the bottom. All we're trying to do is high-low the corner. So this is level. So it's a low, a mid, and then a high, right? So we got, I believe it's McCaffrey on the low. We got Kittle on the mid route, and then we got Deebo Samuel.
And you got Ayuk too working.
Yeah. So I already know what you're thinking, Croc, and everybody else is thinking the same thing. Brandon Ayuk's wide open. Brandon Ayuk is not.
I wasn't even thinking that.
I'm telling you, right? I know what you're saying. I get it, right? Brandon Ayuk, in theory, is really not a part of the concept on this, though. Okay, they're trying to low or high low this corner on the outside. Okay, and they get it, right? But everybody said this is a bad ball. I don't think it was a terrible ball. Okay, but the one thing, and you'll see from behind, I don't know if Jimmy was thinking about going to Ayuk. Go ahead and go to the rear camera, because he takes this big hitch.
Wait, hold on. How do you say it's not? I mean, it's high.
Yeah, it's high, right? It's a little bit high, but
also is it high because he has to get it over the potential underneath defender? Like, Is
Yes,
he making sure like, okay, I have to get it over him
exactly.
and that layer throw,
Because
right?
he's
So he
getting
has
to
to get the
depth, so you
ball
have to layer it,
up and
right?
down. Yeah.
So we got to know that coming out the break. It's going to be a little bit higher because he has to layer it, right? He throws that lower, it's picked off. Okay, but his feet here, he takes a hitch. So stop right before, right here. Stop. He see how he takes that hop step.
Yeah.
I don't know why he takes that hop step. He takes a hitch back forward and then tries to reset on it. So ideally, I'd really just like to see Jimmy take a 3-step and maintain his depth that he already has. So he takes this hitch, gets up back into the pocket, and then takes a reset again. So that hitch, and then he just resets again.
Are
So
you
I
able to
would
see that in
rather
slow
just see him.
motion?
Yeah, I'd rather just yeah. No, that's great mouse work there. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So then he steps. Ideally, this ball's got to be thrown more to the sideline, away from the defenders, away from that the linebacker that is on Kittle there. But
Is he stepping into this throw? Right.
it's not terrible. Would I like to see him get his shoulders a little bit more to the sideline? Yes. Like, okay, so when you look, ideally, when you throw the ball, you want to try and get your hips and shoulders square to your target, right? The target here should not be Kittle. It should be towards the sideline. So you're trying to cut him off with your front step. Okay. So right there, it's not bad. He just got to get the ball a little bit more towards the sideline. I think he opens his front side a touch, and then that ball, his chance trying to play catch up, and the ball sails.
And
Um,
about Ayuk, because people will have the question of why isn't he throwing it to Ayuk? Ayuk is wide open. He's just not really a part of the
he's not
progression.
realistically, he's not part of the progression. You're trying to high low
Okay.
the corner.
Right.
Okay. So he could pop it back down to him. The only thing, the one thing I wrote down with Ayuk versus watching a lot of other film, a lot of other receivers, I think that Ayuk could do himself a favor and do Jimmy a favor instead of continuing to run towards the flat defender. He's got a soft spot in the zone and find that soft spot and just sit. So he
Yeah.
keeps running, and you could
So
see it
like
better
right
from the
here.
sideline cam. Just sit, right? Otherwise, he keeps on going. By the time Jimmy let's say he does throw the ball right now to Ayuk. By the time it gets to him and that DB or the outside backer breaks on it, he's going to kill Ayuk anyways. Okay,
Right.
so
It looked like he started to settle in the zone, but
and then he
it
kept on
it
going.
was late.
Right. So the one thing, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this from the sideline camera, and this is what I called you about earlier, and I text a couple of NFL receivers, okay, and I text a couple of NFL quarterbacks in regards to this, and my issue was
Oh,
Debo Samuel. Okay,
yeah, Debo Samuel.
I'm gonna throw out a disclaimer here. Okay, I thoroughly enjoy watching Debo Samuel play football. Okay, but the more and
Hold
more
on,
that
real
I
quick. You
watch,
know when you say "but," that kind of throws out everything that you said
no, I get that. No,
prior to the "but."
I don't need the shade. These people already hate me enough sometimes. Okay, but anyways, uh, the more and the more that I watch him on tape without the ball in his hand, is the more I have issues with him running routes down the field. I
Yeah,
think Debo Samuel is very elite when the ball is in his hand. When the ball is not in his hand and he is running routes down the field, I think he comes off as lazy. I think his routes look lazy. It doesn't look like a ton of efforts there. He looks like he's just trying to pull guys and do runoff routes, and he knows he's probably not getting the ball, so he just kind of gives us um, these half-ass routes here and there. And I've noticed it week after week after week. I'm not just this. This is not me being a Debo hater. This is again me watching the film from somebody who watches football and somebody who coaches top quarterbacks to 10 and 11-year-olds and watching everything in between and seeing elite receivers. If Debo here, and this has nothing to do necessarily with the route, but if Debo gets off the ball and actually pushes upfield, you know as well as I do, Crocker, if you have a safety over the top of you and you're playing safety, or if you're a DB and you have a receiver that is pushing on all cylinders at you, you're probably going to get on your heels at some point or another, right?
right.
I don't see Debo attack downhill or excuse me, up towards the safeties and get them on their heels. Make it look like he's actually giving this complete effort. Like I know damn well Debo is not sprinting right there. There's no way, right? And that screws with a lot of the separation, a lot of the timing within the route. Because you guys could say here, check this, pause it right here. Okay, you guys say that Kittle's open, right? Look at the defensive back that slips. Circle him, he's on Debo. If that DB doesn't slip, okay, by the time he's looking back right now, if he doesn't slip, the ball's probably picked off. Okay. Now, if Debo, I have this opinion. If I see Debo pushing like he's going full sprint, he's going to run this deep out and he's got the high route on it. He's pushing upfield. You would think that the DB would be more inclined to actually get a little bit more depth or have to carry a little bit longer, which would enable George to be open. George is open here because the DB slips. Otherwise, it's probably a picked off ball. So I'm just being real. That's what I look at on film. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because Debo Samuel is the $80 million player. Trust me, I'm a Niner fan too. I love Debo Samuel. But I
did see the message
every single week.
I did see the message that you sent to me from a guy, and he said 80 million.
I sent him a couple routes, and his reply was $80 million. And that's an NFL receiver that said that. So, again, you guys can think I'm being a hater. I'm not being a hater. I'm watching what I see, and I'm watching how people help the team and how it hurts the team and how route concepts are built. Debo should be running off full sprint. He's running a deep out. He doesn't even pop out of the break like he looks like he's ready to get the ball anyways. And then he gets pushed down by the play side safety. Like he just gets tossed to the ground. You're telling me if he pops out of that break, you know what I'm saying? Like if he pops out of that break, look at him. Just gets pushed to the ground. Like he doesn't look like there's a ton of effort at the top of that. I'm just being real with you guys. That's me watching tape every single week. So you guys can hate on
Cozy. Cozy here says
he's a
cut
wide
him
back.
some slack. He's a wide back.
Hey, like I said, when Debo has the ball in his hand, I mean, you're talking very, very elite. Give the what is your take, Crocker? Before we go to the next one, you have your take on it, and I'm very curious. And you can say what you've told me on the phone. You can say part of it. I don't care. But what is your thoughts on it? Because you watch obviously a lot of film. So what is your thoughts on Debo from when Debo came into the league? His rookie year, he obviously looked a little bit lighter. He looked a little bit quicker.
So you want me to kind of go into detail a little bit? We're not going to get through all.
No, that's fine. Just make it a
20-second
opinion on it.
So Debo Samuel coming out was my wide receiver 2 in that class, and I kind of yo-yo back and forth between him and AJ Brown. I thought they were both terrific prospects. I had DK Metcalf as my wide receiver 1, but only because he was just so freakish. If it weren't for him being so freakish, Debo probably would have been my wide receiver 1 in that class. And the reason why I watched him, and then I watched him at the Senior Bowl, and you see the twitch, you see the suddenness, you see his ability to change pace when in routes, you see his ability to really threaten defensive backs vertically. You saw how light he looked on his feet. And I said that version of Debo Samuel, I don't think this is the same version as that. Now, just in the sense, that doesn't mean that he can't be great with the ball in his hands and with some of the things that the 49ers do, but just in the sense of watching him and viewing him as more of a pure receiver, which again, kind of roll into his rookie year, and you watch some of the things he was able to do with routes. Watch him in the Super Bowl, playing in the slot, his ability to push up outside, get the DB to open up his hips, boom, come back underneath him. You don't really see a whole lot of that anymore. There was a play where he mixed Griffith or whatever, one of the brothers, the twins from Seattle. I mean, just dogged him with the route. I mean, just pushed outside, pushed inside, pushed up, got him going upfield, then boom, threw him by, came outside, and it's like you don't see that version of him anymore. So
right.
I did kind of touch on it a little bit, and it was kind of sensitive. Shout out to my guy Malik, he called me out on it. But I talked about the Super Bowl, where I said, I do feel like Debo could do a better job of being an easier target for the quarterback in route. And I kind of got crushed for that because he did have, I mean, come on, Debo's one of the only reasons why you're in that game. But I'm just saying more so on a consistent basis, right? When you look at guys like, let's say Justin Jefferson, And they're different. They are different type of receivers. But Justin Jefferson shows himself to be a very easy receiver to throw the ball to. Anybody, I can throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. You can throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, right? Like he's open. He's going to show his number. He's open. And you can consistently count on that. Jamar Chase, he's an easy guy to throw the ball to because it doesn't really matter where you throw it. Like you just throw the ball up and he's going to either adjust to it. He's going to make the play. It's going to be contested, but he makes the play. Debo, it feels like to get the ball in his hands has to be a little bit more specific, whether it's versus a zone or a screen or something like right now that he might be able to win. So again, ball in his hands, elite, and that's where he's going to make his money. But just in the sense of some of the other little things, I see what you're talking about.
Yep. Cool. I'm glad we got that cleared up. And Jesse, I do want to see Debo be great. I want to see Croc be great. I want to see everybody be great. Croc doesn't want to see me be great sometimes, though.
All right, here we
Anyways,
go.
all right. So right here, we'll touch on this really quick. This was the first drive of the game. Okay. This was just a good dialed up play. There's no progression. There's no read. This is a bubble to Ayuk, and you're going to see it, I think, a little bit better probably from the end zone. But in a bubble versus this coverage right here. Okay. So we get the blitzer from the bottom. So 38. Go ahead and play it real quick. Yep. So it's cover one. And this is a perfect play call right here because everybody's playing tight. That safety.
Hold on. Let me hold on. So there's a couple things with people in here talking about. So Debo has a stocky build. He has to watch conditioning. This is true. On the phone earlier, I mentioned to you something that Debo said, and I just kind of noted it, right? Like it's something I don't remember everything he says from press conferences and things like this, but there's one thing kind of stuck in my mind. And they asked him about like, hey, do you watch any other receivers? He's like, no. Why would I watch any other receivers? They don't play like me. I'm not like them. They're not like me. There's no point in me watching them. And it stuck out to me just because I always feel like there's something you can take from somebody's game or add to yours, right? And I referenced Jimmy Ward. I watched Jimmy Ward live on Instagram, and he's talking about how he watches all the top safeties, see what they're doing, what makes them different, what makes them better, etc. Why do people think this guy's better, and yada, yada, yada. And he's watching all these different guys. And the Debo comment, and now we're nitpicking, right? But when you pay, you invest a lot of money into somebody, they are nitpicking. I'm not necessarily sure that we've seen, even now, right? Like Debo had a great year, an amazing year. Debo just had an amazing year. I don't even think that's the best version of Debo. I think there's more. I think there's more to him. Even though he had almost an 1,800-yard season and 14 touchdowns, I think there's still a better version of Debo if he chooses to really approach the offseason that way and film that way. And there can be, could he be a 2,000 yard guy? And when I say 2,000, I'm talking about between receiving yards and rushing because of how to utilize them. But I don't know what he does but just from what it looks like, which I could be wrong, I think he can have an even better year than what he had last year.
Yep. If
he chose to, talk about conditioning and some of the soft tissue injuries. I have somebody coming on the morning show tomorrow to talk about that. But those are it's just thoughts. And yep. Great player. Get the ball in his hands a ton. He's amazing. But even as great as he is right now, I think there's another level of which he can reach if he chooses to, because he definitely has the ability.
Right. So this play right here, going back to this one, this is a bubble. This is a good dialed up play here. This should be a one-on-one matchup with Ayuk and actually go back to the sideline camera really quick with Ayuk and the play side safety. So right here, stop it.
All right, hold on.
Oh, that mouse work. Right there, stop it. Okay, so we got the blitzer coming off the edge here. 38 was the blitzer. Then you got it's cover one, so it's just soft coverage. So you see that play side safety that is going to come down on Kittle. The other one's passing him off. So you can see his hand up right now. He's passing him off. So now he's got
Yeah.
Kittle if they run a route concept, right? That becomes most dangerous for Kittle. Okay. In this scheme right here, in this blocking scheme, this is most dangerous for George Kittle.
Right
You go
here.
back, and the people aren't going to say, "Oh, this is just a bubble. This is stupid. Whatever." No, this is dialed up play. So right there, stop. If you look,
Oh, I see it. I
George
see it. I
George
see it.
Kittle looks back inside to the free safety. The most dangerous is the strong safety that's now
So
going to
you're
roll.
saying once they did their little rock and roll thing here, and he comes down, this is who Kittle needs
Who's
to be
most
attacking.
dangerous? Who is the most? So you got to think about it from this. We'll make it as easy as possible. Who is the only person besides obviously the cornerback outside, which McCaffrey is going to try and get him to turn his hips or run an MOR? Who's the most dangerous person that can make a tackle next? Is it the free
It would
safety
likely
playing
be
inside
this
the
guy.
hashes, or is it the person that's almost on the numbers, right? So
Yeah.
George Kittle right here at the snap of the ball is looking to the middle of the field at the safety. That's not most dangerous. His person is going to be the guy that's right over him that's about to come downhill. So then as Ayuk catches the ball right here, he still has his eyes inside. Now he has to go attack outside. He's late. Instead, he should already have had hands on him. And Ayuk is able to catch the ball, probably cut it back inside, and now we have one-on-one with Ayuk and a safety in the open field. I take that any single day of the week. Right here, he'd be able to cut it back inside. Kittle would have already had hands on that safety, and it's a one-on-one matchup. That should have been a touchdown.
Right. So, and the reason why we're pointing that out, right, we're talking about execution. So when we talk
Execution
about
as a
maybe
whole,
the offense the offense not maybe being as good as it could potentially be, when you just say out loud the weapons that the 49ers have: Debo
Right.
Samuel,
So
Brandon
we've
Ayuk,
been, we've
George
been
Kittle,
hearing
Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey. And you say that, but then maybe the results aren't of that. It's because of maybe sometimes some little things like this.
right. So and that's the thing is people, and I get it, right? So everybody's frustrated. If the Niners were 5-2 right now, the conversations would be different. The Twitter spaces would be different. The fans would feel different. But it's little things like this that will continue to add up, right? You can't kick field goals against Pat Mahomes. Can't kick field goals. Jimmy sucks. That's the conversation. It's like every week. Well, Jimmy did his job here. Another person doesn't do their job. We should have had a touchdown here, and now we have to kick a field goal on the first drive of the game. It should have been an easy touchdown, in my opinion. If we
And
get
we
the
saw
block
the Chiefs get that later when everybody does execute their blocks. A receiver is able. A receiver has
there's a ton of different plays right there where,
Yeah.
where the Chiefs are executing blocks down the field. There was a screen. I didn't even put it on here. It was to McKinnon. The hustle from the O-line on the Chiefs compared to some of the screens that I saw from the Niners, you got their guys flying down the field. Everybody's moving down the field. McKinnon takes it for like 40 yards, right? That's 40 easy yards. Mahomes throws a ball that's 5 yards, and McKinnon takes it 40 for him, right? And their Niners are just at this rate like craving for one of those breakout plays because the offense is built to have some of those plays happen, and they just haven't happened yet. And I do think they will at some point, but everybody's got to be on the same page, right? So with the first drive of the game, should have had a touchdown. I think one-on-one with a safety, I'll take Ayuk any day, and I think everybody that's here in the comments would think the same thing.
Hold on, we got a super chat here from our guy Sean. He says, if anyone knows the history of this franchise, Jimmy is pretty bad. 2 safeties in 1 year, 0 pocket presence. He's nowhere near a rookie, always takes sacks. What about the volleyball set in Super Bowl?
I don't know what answer I guess you're looking for. I think that Jimmy is pretty bad in certain situations. I think that he's pretty good in a lot of situations. 2 safeties in a year. We have the safety on here. We'll go back and look at the safety. From snap to the sack on the safety, I think it was like 2.9, maybe 3 seconds. But we'll go back and look at it a little bit more. I think his pocket awareness is not the best, but I don't think it's the worst either.
There were some plays here
I think that when you say pocket
good.
awareness, I think that I would like to see Jimmy keep his eyes up a little bit more when shit hits the fan.
There was a sack he took where I don't know if it was a sack or he ended up picking up a yard, but he kind of just dropped his eyes, went straight. And if he would have kept his eyes up, then he would have seen Kittle
Yeah,
break
I know
open
which one you're talking
over
about. He
him.
ran in the back of like somebody and maybe gets a yard out of it. So,
Yeah.
again, we're having these Jimmy conversations going into the season. This wasn't an offense that was going to be built for Jimmy Garoppolo to be in there anyways, right? So,
Right.
um, I think that somebody else would be better that's on the 49ers roster at operating this offense right now? No.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? So, and I put this in here because a lot of people want to get on Jimmy, right? A lot of people want to say that Jimmy throws bad balls. That's fine. I agree with you. But at the same time, hey, it happens around the league, right? People make mistakes around the league. So it's not, we get so solely focused on it. And there was a couple of people yesterday wanted to see some things on the Chiefs. So we got a couple of different things here. But Pat Mahomes, the Niners are playing like their three match here, right? So, or the three, I don't know what you guys call it, Crocker. Go ahead and play it real
I
quick.
wouldn't even
Say,
say
oh,
that. It
so,
looks like
so,
just
so
quarters.
I
It
was
looks
gonna
like
say it
quarters.
almost looks like quarters. Okay, so let's
But I
call it
try not
quarters.
to guess coverages because,
Yeah,
it looks
this
like
always
quarters.
it looks like a quarters look, but they do a really good job at always disguising. And I guess I'll say it's quarters,
No, it is
just off the
quarters, and he just
and
matched
he's just driving
the
down
vert
on the
here and
dig route.
drove it.
Yeah, so he's driving down on the dig, but they play that's what makes the Niners good because their quarters and their three sometimes does look very similar, right? The only difference is the safety that'll work more towards the middle of the field, but they got this strong safety or the free safety, depending on which way they roll, that will hold and basically play that catch defender, and then they'll take off running if somebody pushes them vertical. Otherwise, it looks like a too high look, and they'll play it as a too high versus if they get this vertical threat, then they'll turn and run with them. But
Can we
I don't
talk
know what.
about that break by Hufanga?
Yeah, that was a great break, and I don't know what the Chiefs were doing here because they run double digs. This is a mirrored concept here. So we talked about that the other day too. This is a mirrored concept. The only difference is you got a snag route on the bottom. So it's literally speed outs with digs behind it. It's a flat defender read. The flat defender gets wide with a speed out. Pat Mahomes sees it, and that ball obviously has got to be out right out of the break.
Hold on, let me try to slow it down. Here we go.
So right here, so circle the flat defender, Croc. Right there.
Right here?
No,
Jimmy
not
Ward?
even that one. Yeah, you could say it's Jimmy Ward, but
Or,
then our hook defender gets wide.
Right here, the hook defender here.
Yeah, he gets wide there. So that's number 2 or number 3 right there outside. So all he's doing is reading that area. Okay.
Yeah, so once the hook drives here, which
he already
again,
knows,
this is probably
as soon as he turns his back to the dig route, it's over, right? He knows he's still in the dig right here. But the safety does a great job of driving downhill. And the receiver here, I don't know if it's a running back or who it is, but when you watch him break off his dig, a lot of times you want to see them break off their digs and get a little bit more flat line. And we showed this a couple weeks ago.
No, it's not a running back. That's Sky Moore.
Okay, Sky Moore. I went through this one really quickly with Mahomes, so
he wears 24 though, so I can
24.
see.
There you go. So that's why I'm all screwed up on it. But when you talk about running a dig route at the top, he bends this thing and he starts to get depth and pushes more towards the safety. If he runs this more flat line, he probably at least saves the interception on this, or the ball might be right on him out the break, or not out the break, but at the top of his route. But if you watch him, he'll drift off the line. So instead of pushing straight down the 40-yard line, what does he do? He keeps on drifting, and now he lets the safety undercut him. So he probably would have got his body in the way right there, and instead the safety is able to undercut it because he drifts off his route, and it turns into an interception for the 49ers. But yeah, this looks exactly like a Kyle Shanahan offense right there.
Well, you think about the way these safeties broke on the ball, right? And
I think it was great.
And you see Hufanga. Look where Hufanga is, and look where Gibson is, right? And Hufanga broke. If Hufanga picks it off, it's just because he just made a great play on the ball. When Gibson picks it off, not saying it wasn't a great play to hit the ball, but it was more so because he started drifting upfield and it allowed him to undercut it. Even if he wasn't in position, like if he just flattens it off right now, then he doesn't have that angle. Is that what we're saying?
Right. That's what I'm trying to get at. If he pushes this right down the 40-yard line, it's probably not picked off. It's probably either batted down or he's hit as he catches it. But he basically gives him a free lane for the safety to push right underneath him. So
that's a hell of a job by. I mean, Hufanga, goodness gracious.
He snaps it off. I mean, he's sitting there waiting. Boom.
Boom. Look, he's breaking now. Foot in the ground. I'm going right. But not just that. I mean, it's foot in the ground. I erased this whole route. Balls in the air, boom, I'm on it, diving over my like what?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. No, that was a really good play by the defense right there.
Yeah, both guys.
Um, and I'm not going to say it was the best ball in the world. It obviously it wasn't. But I
Mm.
think that I just wanted to show this because hey, guys make mistakes, right? Whether they're the best in the world or the shittiest, they're going to make mistakes. So,
Oh, we had some
um,
we got a super
and the
chat.
defense capitalized. So this is the first.
Hold on one second. We got a super chat from my guy Jesse. Hey Jesse, you want to come join, man? You joined last time, join again this time. I'll send you the link. But he says veterans making mistakes and those same veterans talking about lack of effort in post games. Sounds like a big issue to me. Very concerning.
Yeah, I would agree. We talk about leadership, talk about like who is the sole leader? Who when you look at the team as they are now, who do you expect to be the leaders on offense and defense, right? Like who's the guy you look to? Obviously, Jimmy wasn't in the locker room for the better part of the offseason, right? So it's going to be somebody else who has to step up, right? So if I just right now thought of it, who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the face of the offense? The guy that you can go to? I'd say George Kittle, right? And he came out the other day and said, "Oh, you got to get the ball in the playmakers' hands, and we got to do a little bit better of this and that." That's fine, but it's got to happen on all fronts, right? Everybody's got to be held accountable. It's football. There's 11 guys on each side of the ball. When one thing goes bad, it typically affects a lot of other guys unless you just pull something out of your ass and make something happen. So there's not just one dude to blame. Every time the 49ers, it seemed like they started to get some type of momentum, something dumb happens. Somebody doesn't give an effort. Somebody gets killed, whatever. And it turned to shit. So, the defense as well, right? Who's the leaders on the defense? I'd say Fred Warner, right? Jimmy Ward, but probably be the two guys that are going to be the leaders on defense. You would expect maybe Nick Bosa, but he's younger. So and most defensive linemen aren't those guys. And when you listen to Nick Bosa talk, it doesn't really come off as that guy. It's like Nick Bosa is like
Yeah.
the dude that probably sits in the corner in the locker room and is like, nobody really just let him do his thing. Just let him go out there and he gets to do his thing and nobody, talks to him. I'm not saying he's like that, but he kind of seems like that kind of guy where you just
Well,
you see what you get on the field and off the field. Who knows what the hell it is?
between Bosa and his brother, but really more so Bosa, I feel like they are not that they're not human, but it was like they were just made in a lab to be a pass rusher.
Right.
And it's like, I will pass rush, I will get to the quarterback. And he just goes on the field and it's like when I listen to him talk, so yeah, I went over and everybody's doing great.
That's
And
my thing. That is my take on it too.
yeah.
I'm with you there.
All right, here we go.
So, anyways, this is a snag concept up top. I think this is the touchdown, right? I believe it is. Yeah. Okay. It's a snag concept up top, but basically, it's like this pick play. So there's nobody else open. If you go back and watch it, everybody's kind of sitting at the goal line, and there's nobody else open. I thought Jimmy does a really good job of making something out of nothing here. And what they're playing, this is like that. This is like their 11 hole, right? So cover 11 hole or cover one hole. It's 11 hole. Basically, would just be like a nickel package, right? So you got 5 DBs on the field there. So that would be 11 instead of cover one. Otherwise, you just call this one hole. And so one guy's, they're just playing softer and trying to give a different look. That's why that DB on the outside is playing outside shade. So you got the hole player, and then you got another guy that's playing a little bit softer man, and then you can bring pressure out of it, right? So they basically just have that guy sitting underneath. It's almost like the robber, the hole player. And Jimmy does a good job of this. I think he makes something out of nothing. He ends up getting the ball out of his hand and he double clutches it, but somehow he still got this out. And I think I don't know if his hand got hit or if the ball got hit, but he barely gets it out. And I think this was a good play by Jimmy here of making something out of nothing. And Ray McLeod to actually notice that Jimmy's getting some pressure, so he has to break it back outside right there and pushes back outside and makes a good touchdown. So
Defensively, what I call this with my kids, because it just simplifies it. We just call this 13. So in 13, we're gonna press the point guy. He's gonna be manned up, and then we're gonna combo the back two guys, 1 and 3, right? So we got 1, 2, 3. Got a point man here, Debo Samuel. We're gonna press the point man, play man, and then we're gonna combo the back guys with two defenders. So if you watch, as the guys here, this is man. Everybody's a man, but they're just comboing those two guys. So boom, Debo, man here, versus the point. He drives this and he plays this. So you just play what comes to you. Now, I think ideally this is what you want because you end up getting him outside shade. So when he does his little snag route and comes back inside, I think typically if you just put it on him, that I don't know, it might not have been there though.
Yeah, there was not much. Yeah, there was not much separation, and ideally, it doesn't look like that's the
Yeah.
route anyways. I think this concept here is built more for a press man, and they played it softer because Debo's basically trying to pick that safety that's playing off and soft. If you look, Debo doesn't
So
look like
just
he's
straight man without a combo.
yeah. And Debo, that guy, he's playing off and soft, so this pick doesn't necessarily work. And nobody else is open. So
Yeah.
Jimmy makes a good play on this. Something out of nothing, we get a touchdown. I think what did they go up? Is it 10-0 at this point?
10-0.
Yep. Yeah, see that whole player that's sitting in the middle. If there was no whole player there, that's an easy touchdown for Ayuk, but they did a good job at it. So this was the pop step. So everybody's asked about the pop step stuff with Josh, with Rogers, right?
Should I stay on this view or go to the bench?
No, this one's fine. This is just Patrick Mahomes rolling left. It's a natural smash concept. So again, it's a high low, right? So you'll watch Kelsey run a speed out. His job is to pull the corner downhill, and then they're going to throw a corner route behind it. Okay, so the corner actually does a pretty good job of reading this. Our DB up top, I can't see the number on who it is, but he opens
That's
up.
31 Gibson.
Okay, so he's trying to play both, right? So he does a good job at actually playing both. So he makes it hard on Mahomes, and this is what makes these guys good. They play on the fly, right? So right now, if he throws that corner to the sideline, it's probably picked off, right? However, Mahomes being Mahomes, he's rolling left. He gets his hips and shoulders back square to the line of scrimmage. And instead of throwing the corner route, what he does is basically throws a back shoulder ball and stops him completely off of his route. And they get a completion out of it. And these are those plays that are special because, excuse me, let me rewind it. These are the plays that make these guys special, right?
Oh, my bad. I didn't know you asked who the corner was. Yeah, the corner is Lenore.
Yeah, I was talking about the DB that's playing
here, kind of flats.
Yes, yeah. He's playing the flat, right? So,
even this, the way Jimmy Ward buzzes out, this might be some quarters, but I don't know because maybe he's just getting a reroute. Yeah, because if this is cover 2, I don't know.
Yeah, he wouldn't be going.
He
so
wouldn't
far
be
out.
on top of him
But
like that.
The read up top is the corner. That's what I'm trying to get at for these.
Yeah, so the read by Mahomes. So
Mahomes
real
is
quick,
the
because
corner.
a lot of people think like, one read. But you can be a one read quarterback, but even off of one read, you're reading multiple options, right?
Right. So this is a little bit of a levels concept, right? It's a high low, and then you got the crosser coming across down low. Okay, that's obviously not open. So Mahomes makes something out of nothing here, throws a back shoulder ball, but I wanted to talk about the pop step. So he gets sideways and puts his front foot in the ground, and it's basically like that pat or the pop step. And what that does is it stops his whole front side from flying open. So if you watch at the time that he releases the ball, his shoulders and hips are square to throwing that ball right there. So that's why quarterbacks use the pop step. So if he continues to roll left and tries to throw that ball, there's probably not a good chance that he's throwing that on a back shoulder in this situation, he's probably going to either pull it across his body or it'd sail behind him because he'd open up the front side too much. So what he does is like that sudden start, sudden stop, puts his foot in the ground and creates torque by stopping and then hopping onto that front foot that shuts the front side completely down. And now there's torque created. So that is something that, that's obviously what we're hoping that we can see out of Trey Lance. Jimmy did this. He did a pop step a couple times actually in the game, and I put it down here, and I was pleasantly surprised to see him do it. But that's Pat Mahomes being Pat Mahomes. Realistically, that's a corner route, and Pat Mahomes throws him on a back shoulder, and it's just a good ball. It's tough to defend plays like that.
Let me get that from this view here.
Right there. So I put his left foot in the ground and then hop into it.
Left foot right there.
There, and then he'll hop into it.
And I see it right there.
Stops the front side right as he's releasing the ball.
And you can see it. That's pretty cool.
Yep. It's a perfect ball.
So the
very
pop
solid.
step,
So those are things that
the pop step stops his momentum.
Yeah, stops the front side from opening up. So the next time I come out to Arkansas, we'll add that to the Crocky repertoire.
Yeah, my pro day.
Yep.
They out here playing with me. They don't know I'm really like that. But here we go. Just don't.
Yes, he was a baseball player. His dad was a MLB baseball player too. So, or was in the MLB for a while.
Do you think that Joe Montana was doing pop steps?
I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think so. I'm sure he did it, but I don't think they're doing it as much as Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, Josh, and some of these other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the high corner. Again, talked about this. I mean, both of us talked about this. This is you want to talk about a natural smash concept, right? So a high-low, you see George Kittle coming across the field, right? This was built for a too-high coverage, and basically you're just reading the corner. You're reading the top corner, the play side corner, and we're trying to high-low him. At this point right here, as a receiver on the fly, when you see a safety that is over the top of you
and sitting,
this route should be taken more towards the sideline. So go ahead and cut him off more towards the sideline. And he still has his back turned to Jimmy. Then he looks. So even if he runs this route, the right way, I think, that we're going to have a completion. And realistically, from a quarterback, from the receiver, you should know when there's a safety over the top like that, that the quarterback is probably going to throw you to the sideline, right? The quarterback is supposed to throw you to the sideline. So you're going to break your route off and basically extend it to like a deep out. And Danny Gray here does not look like he has any idea of what that play side safety is doing. So he just runs the high corner and runs right into the safety. It was actually not even a terrible ball. Like, he gives them a chance to make a play. The defense just makes a better play in all reality. But the defense was all over that. And Danny Gray should have cut that ball off to the sideline.
Cut that run off to the sideline. Danny, now when I say this, I'm talking about in the perfect world, right? In the perfect world. We talked earlier about, threatening a defensive back. And in the perfect world here, when you get the safety here. Now, what I don't know is timing, right? So I don't know the timing of it. And maybe because, look how much depth the safety has. Maybe he couldn't get on his toes enough. But ideally, you want to do something to open up the safety to the field. You want to, because right now he's square.
So no, and I get that, but I don't think that. So again, if you're going to run the corner,
what I'm saying is you want to hit him with more of a rocker step or something. Like,
I was going to say,
hit him with something
inside,
at the top of it, just to get him to open his hips while you go the opposite way, and then that'll free you up for that split second to to where now I can make a play on the ball without the defensive back being there. But as long as he's square like this, and he's kind of comfortable even with you pushing at him, it's going to be hard to make a play.
Right.
You gotta get him to open up to the field and go the opposite way. Now, how you do it, that's on Danny Gray to kind of add that to his game. But I bet right now if we just went, and I keep saying Justin Jefferson because he's very loosey goosey, but you put Justin Jefferson in this, and he's gonna give that safety something to think about, and then go the opposite way, and that's
Right.
what's gonna get that.
And
DB to
I'm
open
seeing
up.
some people saying in the comments that Jimmy should have let the ball go sooner. Let's say Jimmy lets the ball go sooner. Where is he going to throw the ball to? Because
Look what
Danny Gray doesn't turn his shoulders until he's at the 50-yard line. So even if he
and
threw the ball sooner, Danny Gray would have never even seen the ball coming because Danny Gray just keeps pushing this high corner to basically no man's land into the safety. So if Jimmy throws the ball sooner, I don't know where where everybody would think the ball
yeah,
is going
no,
to go.
that's not gonna matter because at the end of the day, look at the DB. He's square, and then he just breaks to the corner. Like he never opened. He never felt any type of panic. He sat. I mean, obviously he's deep, so that helps being as deep as he was. But when you don't give him anything, and now he just gets to run, you're not.
Yeah.
You
That
gotta get
doesn't help out right there.
you gotta get him out of being square. You gotta get him out of being able to sit on this route and just break comfortably. You gotta figure out how. However, and again, maybe there's too much space for Gray to work it, but you gotta get this safety to open up to the field so that when you do go corner, now I have that separation and that ability to make the catch.
Right.
And I'm just looking at it from a defensive back's perspective. Like I tell my guy, hey, we stay square, we can break in any direction. And you watch this corner here, he stays square, boom, and he's able to break on that corner. You have no chance.
The ball should have been caught. The ball or the route should have been run probably towards about the 50-yard line on the sideline, and he's probably catching it with no issue. So that's one that doesn't necessarily help. But then you go back to the next play
Throwing that ball
thereafter.
sooner would not help because the corner was square. So you got the corner sitting on that like that, and he's square. No matter what the quarterback does, right then and there, especially with it so far down the field, unless he has like a Josh Allen arm, where okay, I throw it early and it's just gonna get on the receiver before the DB can get there.
Yeah.
And even then, I think that'd even be a tough throw even for Josh Allen, but just more of an exaggerated big arm.
The conclusion of it, if Danny Gray runs that route to the sideline a little bit more, I think we got a completion.
I don't know. I think he has to
Unfortunately,
get the DB to open up.
No, I agree with you. He's got to get push vertically and try and get this DB to get inside for one split second, get him to get off of his, basically like you said, shoulder square, open up for that split second, and then he can break outside. Now you have some separation.
Yeah, and a lot of
especially
times the corner,
when they're deep like that.
once you get a corner to open up in that way, and you go the opposite way, then he's gonna have to speed turn out of it.
Right.
And if y'all like want kind of an example that does hurt a little bit, but Super Bowl 49ers against Kansas City Chiefs. Now Tyreek Hill dove way inside and then came out, but just running out and getting the safety who's high to run out of there, open his hips one way, and you go the other way, the DB is going to speed turn. And that would be a catch where people be like, oh, man, like, well, that's an easy throw because the receiver's so wide open. Like that would be the response.
Right. And then the next play, I'll give him credit. The next play actually comes back. Kittle makes a play, runs that bender route across the middle. So, it didn't hurt in theory because Kittle ends up making a catch, and I didn't put it on here, but Jimmy did a good job of he was actually looking left and then realigns. Actually, he sees the safeties roll to a one high and then pops it to Kittle, and did a good job at getting the ball down the field. So
I almost
didn't even
put that on there because I saw it. Because a lot of
I
times,
know everybody saw it. It was a good pass play. He came back, he bounced back from it. So right here, if you want to rewind it, and I'll talk about cover zero for a split second. So right here, okay. So you got this guy on the edge here, right over Kittle. He looks like he's coming, right? And the way that you can tell he's probably coming is when he's playing inside the is it Kittle? Yeah. Go to the top DB or the top edge rusher right there. And then you see the safety that's stacked right behind him. Okay, so that tells me he's probably coming, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the
Because
safety
he's stacked right here.
because he's
He's
stacked. So you
essentially
got to
like
stack.
I'm playing man on Kittle.
He's man on Kittle. They're bringing that pressure. Then you get the Mike that walks up. So Mike walks up, and then you got the other edge guy that's either walked up or he's going to take the linebacker, or excuse me, the running back. Okay, and you got man on the bottom. So this tells me right now it's cover zero. Okay, so that means zero guys deep, zero deep help, and I know it's not deep help here, but it's man across the board. Nobody playing an extra, zone or robber area underneath. So before you start saying interception, I get it. It was a pick. Could have all been avoided if Jimmy recognizes sooner, sees the mic come, and sees the guy that's supposedly or supposed to be over the back, that other outside backer, or excuse me, DB that comes. He could have hit the Texas route, and Wilson probably walks into the end zone. But instead, we get pressure. Jimmy gets depth, and I like the fact that Jimmy does continue to get depth. He sees the blitz, he's continuing to get depth. If Jimmy throws this to the corner of the end zone, nobody's saying a damn thing about it, right? He gets his depth, keeps throwing, or excuse me, keeps working, and he throws this off his back foot. This is when I talked about, and this is where I think I would love to work with Jimmy. I'm trying to create some power when you don't have your feet underneath you. If this ball is thrown to where the Niners helmet is or towards the pylon, this is probably a touchdown. Because again, it's a natural pick play right here. So you got 5 yard in, or two little 5 yard basically sticks or double sticks with the corners, and they got Kittle working on the backside. If he throws it to the sideline, who knows what happens? Maybe you just live to see another play, but it all could have been avoided if he actually picks up the blitz here and dumps it off to Wilson anyways. So, but Jimmy's got to know. I mean, Trent got torched. I don't know what Trent was doing on
Well,
that
he had
play.
two guys. He's looking.
No,
at.
I get it. He got two guys, but he has two guys in.
Yeah, so he got one throwing heel coming off. He's like, damn, there's throwing.
But here's my thing. Here, let's rewind it. Let's talk about Trent getting beat here. Trent has two guys on him. If Trent has two guys on him, he's got to know that it's scat protection. Okay. Why is he looking inside right now?
Right. Yeah.
Why is Trent looking inside to help with the guard when there's two guys that are lined up outside of him? So, unfortunately, that was blown assignment on him. He has to pick him up late. He still would have had a free rusher, but it probably could have maybe helped give him a split second longer. I don't know.
Why is he looking inside?
I don't know why he's looking inside on this one. So, but it wasn't great. So multiple errors. You want to say error on Jimmy, then Jimmy gets crushed. How come that's not roughing the passer on Jimmy? If that was Tom Brady, that would be a penalty. But Jimmy don't get those calls. Anyways, so this was another one. This was a sack here. 5-man pressure, smash concept. I think, was this the smash concept? Oh, I know what this was. Okay. So this was this is basically like a saw fire zone blitz here. Okay. So fire zone is a 5-man pressure. And I get why Jimmy went to the bottom side here. Because so you got the swing route on top with McCaffrey. Okay. So pause it right here. Okay. So right here is a zone blitz. Okay. And typically in zone blitz, they bring 5, but we're going to look at Dunlap here for a second. Okay. So Jimmy sees the blitz, or might see the blitz off the top. Okay. So he's going to work that side. They're going to bring a guy from that side. We're probably going to work that side now. However, the defense, this is where I'm going to give them credit. The defense does a really good job, because if you watch, that D tackle is dropping off into a zone coverage. So circle the D tackle. He drops off into a zone. So now he's replacing a zone. And you watch Dunlap here, right, on McGlinchey. What he's doing, this is a great call by the defense, because
he's just holding McGlinchey.
He's basically buying the right tackle right now, right? He's going to buy the right tackle, engage with him, get him to think, hey, I'm coming. And what does that do for the outside blitzer there?
Free runner.
Wide open, frees him up. So all he's doing is buying time, All he's doing is buying time for that free blitzer, and then he just drops off and sits in the lane. So I get why Jimmy is looking on the bottom here, because in theory, if they bring a zone blitz, or a blitz from that side,
that's where you want to throw into the blitz.
You want to replace that side. So I get that. The defense, and here's the thing too, and everybody's got to understand, and Crocker played defense. It's the same with the 49ers, right? So offenses are built to outscore, right? Or offenses are built to drive the ball and to win against the defense. The defense also has a job too. The defense is going to win. Unfortunately, sometimes they're going to win more than the offense wins. But the defense just does a good job here. I don't know. I don't care who's at quarterback. The defense just won this right here. That's the bottom line. They did a good job. They executed and they won because they got a sack. So that's my take on that one.
Is the throwing into the zone, and I've heard that as well. That's why I knew that. Is that just kind of a rule of thumb?
It's typically the easiest option when you got a guy that's coming like that. You want to try and replace him,
Okay.
and when he comes, there should be an open lane to throw. But Dunlap basically engages and then sits in that open lane where he's trying to throw the ball, I think, or where he was looking to throw the ball. If you wanted to nitpick, I think he could have dumped it off to who is it, Warner? I think he could have dumped it off to him right now. But again, that's being instinctual, being quick and twitchy. He could have thrown it maybe outside, but by that time you already had an outside rusher anyways. He would have had to change the arm angle. So this is just the defense winning right here. Oh, I put this one in here too. I put this and I listed it as what the hell is Patrick Mahomes doing? Because again, we've talked about it. Elite quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks make mistakes, whether they're elite or not. And sometimes it takes a little bit of luck. I can tell you this. If Jimmy did this, people would be batshit crazy over it. Because you look at it from the rear camera, like who is Pat Mahomes throwing this ball to? There's 3 Niners defenders and 1 receiver over there, and he throws it right at the hands. Look at, like, who's he throwing it to? There's nobody over there.
I think
There's nobody over there. He's throwing it to, like, here, Fred, want to take it for 6 if you want. There's no. And this is my thing. I've said this too. Pat Mahomes, I enjoy watching Pat Mahomes. I obviously think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's top 3, right? But we said this too. He also is a part of leading the league in dropped interceptions, right? He's going to throw picks. He's going to try and force the ball. He's going to make some dumb decisions at times. But the difference between him doing that and other quarterbacks is people will forget about this play because he'll go throw a post down the field 45, 50 yards, and everybody forgets about the little dumb shit like this. But he'll do these things every single game, and he'll make you think, what the hell is he doing? But it's okay because we forgot about it because he threw a 50-yard bomb later in the game, or he won the game, right? But again, if Jimmy did this, I'm telling you, it would be chaos, even more so than it already is, because I don't know what the hell Pat Mahomes is doing here. So I decided to show that to the people that think that Jimmy is the person on the planet that makes mistakes.
I mean, I assume he's trying to throw to the corner. I mean, that's the only explanation.
I don't even know. I really don't.
Chris here says, "Nah, Greg, Mahomes can make mistakes like that because he's going to come back and throw 3 or 5 touchdowns."
Well, that's why that was my point. People will be okay with it because he does make these spectacular throws, or him make plays later on in the game that make you forget about the dumb things like this. But in all reality, this probably should have been a pick 6, right?
Right. In all reality, it's an ugly play. Okay, this is the post you're talking about.
Yeah, here's another one, right? So again,
so this, I mean, in my opinion, this is why you can have the ugly play because, okay, I got an ugly play, but I'm creating the explosive play.
Right.
Like there's a play there to be had, and I'm making the throw, which I feel like he kind of flattened off and stopped the receiver, right, on the explosive play.
Yep.
With the throw. So I think that's why, like, if you're Patrick Mahomes, like, yeah, I might do some what the hell, which again, I still don't know what he was trying to do on that last
Yeah,
throw we
and
just
that's why I
saw.
put it in there. I wanted to show it's not just a one-sided thing that the Niners are the only team in the league that are dealing with issues from the quarterback or making some decisions that you might not agree on. I would think that a lot of the Chiefs fans, if that was an interception, would think that they don't agree on that. Or they probably still do, even though he didn't complete the ball. So that's why I threw that in there. Again, this one right here, it's a post play. Pat Mahomes
Hold
does a
on,
good
real
job.
quick. So I've seen this a couple times, and it's like, oh, he's making excuses for Jimmy G. That's all this is. I'm gonna talk from my perspective, right? When I watch, so what y'all have to understand is uh, when you understand the position from a different perspective, it comes off as if you're maybe making excuses for somebody, but really you're just talking about what goes into it. And with y'all learning what kind of goes into some of these things, it can come off as an excuse. So when I talk about corners, right? When I talk about cornerbacks, and you hear me talk about like, oh well, this was just kind of tough because the receiver did this and that. People, oh, that's an excuse, and it's like, nah, it's not an excuse. I'm just telling you what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, now whether it was a positive outcome or a negative outcome or whatever, like I'm gonna tell you this is how I saw this playing out. This is how I see this playing out. So right now, Greg is telling you how he's seeing these plays playing out from his perspective. Greg is looking at it as if I'm the quarterback, this is how I'm seeing this playing out. So maybe y'all look at it that way, and I think people have to Croc, don't make excuses for Rashard Robinson. Remember him? Like, and they're like, oh, he's not looking back. And then I show a play and I freeze it. I'm like, you just say he wasn't looking back. He never gets his head back around, but like he's looking back right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's just when you give a different perspective based on kind of being a little bit more knowledgeable, I think it comes off as an excuse. That's what I'm thinking. But
Yep. And like I
hold on, I can't hear you. Is it me? Can y'all hear Greg? I don't think I can hear you. Hopefully it's not me. Nah, yeah, see, so we can't hear you. Somebody said Jesse cut Greg's mic. I can't hear you, Greg. Leave and then come back. How about that? Leave and then just click the link, come back. Oh, I can hear you now. Oh, wait, no, I can't. Yeah, leave and then come back. Let's see if we can get my guy back in here. But yeah, I think sometimes like, when you are describing what you're seeing, you're describing uh just football. There are answers to certain things that we just might not understand. All right, go ahead. Still can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I don't know
All
what's
right,
going on. But
here we
yeah, I got
go.
the North Star mic. This is the one that Croc told me to get.
That's a
Anyways,
good one, man. That's
no,
a
and
sure
here's the
mic.
thing, to the comments, like if you want me to come on here and say every single week, Jimmy sucks, Jimmy sucks, Jimmy sucks. What am I saying that's different than anybody else? Anybody
Mm.
can come on here and say that, right? So I'm trying to give an evaluation, trying to give an outlook on, okay, if I'm going to be in the coach's room or the quarterback room and look at things from a quarterback perspective, in which I played college football, now I train quarterbacks for a living, and watch film, talk amongst the peers, talk amongst NFL personnel that is playing in the NFL currently. and sending them clips and getting their take on it. That's where I'm trying to base the assessment off of. Otherwise, I can come on here and say Jimmy sucks and he does this and he does that. And it's the same old boring show every single week. So that's my take on it.
Yes,
So,
sir.
anyways, this is a good ball here by Pat Mahomes. I think if you want to be critical of it, like on the flip side, hey, you would say, oh, shoot, he probably. So go back really quick. Before we even talk about this, go back and look at the route from the receiver. This is what Crocker's talking about as far as setups. So look at the safety get turned. Boom, turned, and then he has to. That's exactly what Crocker's.
Hey, you know, look.
This is a setup right here.
I may know a little something, right? I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what he did to get open. But that's what I was saying from Danny Gray, and that's something that Danny Gray he can learn. All right,
and that's why I put this on. That's really why I put this on here, because we went to the corner, and I'd like to see a setup on the inside, and then you see him set it up, and he creates space here. It's a good route against a too high coverage, and it's well executed. I mean, if you really wanted to,
Danny Gray was in the same position where he had a safety high, and he's pushing up vertically at him, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't just, I'm pushing then I'm just gonna run to the corner. Like, you got to give this safety something to open up his hips one way or the other, and then he ends up speed turning, which is exactly what I said about the Danny Gray thing. Then I brought up the Super Bowl play, and I was like, you know, what did Tyreek Hill do? Kind of threaten him this way, get Jimmy Ward to respect the speed, and then he had the speed turn out of there. And it's just naturally, like, that's how it's gonna happen.
Right. So if you really wanted to nitpick this with Mahomes, I'd say, you know, if he could throw it a little bit more over the top, it's probably a touchdown, right? But he throws a good ball. I think it was like 48 yards or something like that. It's slightly underthrown, but it's still a good ball. He gives his receiver a chance. There's separation there. So if he throws this up, this
upfield. Are you saying throw it like here?
No, I'm talking about to the other hash, like towards the other hash, throwing him open away from the DB.
You don't feel like once the DB did his speed turn, I feel like he's upfield shoulder.
No, he's not catching him. I've torched DBs doing this. He's not catching him. If he throws this ball towards the hash, like that where he throws it on the hash. But if he throws it deeper over the top, it's probably a touchdown. But he slightly underthrew it. So, and no, I'm not taking anything from Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes can chuck the ball.
I think this
we've seen it 8 yards down the field.
Look,
but it's a good ball.
I feel like he stopped him. I think he stopped. He stopped the receiver. Now, did he do on purpose or not? But whatever he ended up doing, I think that was actually good.
No, it was good. That's why I put it on here. People wanted to see. Some people on Twitter yesterday wanted to see some of the things that Pat Mahomes does. Like, this is one of those things that you'd want to see from the 49ers, right? So, or see from other quarterbacks around the league. I think it's a good ball. Is it a perfect ball? No, but he gets it done, right? So, but and you watch the ball starts to turn late back over. You know, I think that if Pat Mahomes had this back, he's probably throwing that over the top a little bit more, and it's probably a touchdown. But somebody said he couldn't step into the throw. I would argue with you on that one.
Yeah,
that's stepping into a throw.
I think, yeah.
So there was a couple yards between him and the left tackle there. This is the Debo drop. Okay, so again, we ran this concept multiple times in the game. Just a simple flat defender read with Ayuk coming. Basically, he's going to stab inside and break it off at 5 yards. If the flat defender goes with him, Jimmy's supposed to get it outside to Debo. My initial reaction on this was, damn, man, Jimmy's got to get this ball in front. This was a shitty ball. That was my initial reaction. And then I watched Debo start taking this ball.
He's keeping away from his back.
Yeah, so I think he was keeping away from the flat defender, and then Debo's pushing that route a little bit more upfield than you probably would like. Like, he's angling it up the field, which, again, makes it a harder angle to throw at versus Jimmy look like he's throwing him flat down the line. Okay. But then you watch the end zone camera and it looks like it just hits Debo right in the hands, and it's just a drop. So This was one of those ones where it's like, you know what, when you need playmakers to make plays, when you need playmakers to make a play, or everybody's got to be working, especially when you're coming from behind. These are the little plays, the little things that got to happen. And I get it. Yeah, could Jimmy have thrown it maybe a little bit more on the front side? But I think again, he's stopping him from getting hit from that flat defender.
Yeah,
But
I
I
don't.
don't think that ball is as bad as people want to criticize him for.
When I looked at it just now, the first thing I saw was I saw the linebacker, and you're supposed. And so earlier we talked about Brandon Ayuk, right? Potentially settling in the zone. And I was like, and we were talking about Ayuk running across. He wasn't part of the progression, but where he could help himself and the DB is kind of like settling down. Do you think that Debo is expected to throttle down a little more?
I don't think so, because based off of watching them do it later in the game, he does the exact same. They run the exact same concept, and he doesn't settle down there either. And Jimmy, the flat defender, it happens to be a nickel at that point. Ayuk runs a really good route, stabs outside, creates separation, and Jimmy dumps it off to him over the middle. So, this right here, this is something that if you're talking about something that I think could be added to the Niners playbook, this is something that you don't see enough of. This is a straight man coverage, right? So how do we know it's man coverage? We'll look at the DBs on the top. They're playing tight man coverage. They're up in their face. It's not like there's some secret that they're going to pop off the zone. They're both squared up looking at the receivers. So Pat Mahomes does a really good job at seeing this, recognizing it. He knows he's going to throw a back shoulder ball, and we've talked about that. The hardest ball for a DB to defend is what? A back shoulder ball. So as soon as the corner turns his back up top, Pat Mahomes is already ready to throw that ball.
And this is when you see the defensive back even, it's like, all right, that's back shoulder, right? So typically as a defensive back, I want to play chest to chest on this. And even then, if it's just really good ball, it doesn't matter. But that was
and yes, he can. I've seen him throw that ball multiple times. So
who, Jimmy?
Yes, it's a little bit.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't ever see him throw a back shoulder.
No, I'm not saying he's throwing it on a laser like this, but at the same time, what I'm getting at is this is not built into the offense a ton, anyways. And I would like to see it into the offense. He threw a back shoulder ball to Coleman 2 weeks ago.
He did throw a back shoulder ball to Coleman.
So I see Peacock.
But I didn't know if he did that on purpose. But maybe he did, because he was getting blasted. Remember, it was a zero blitz.
Yeah, and so, but my point of putting this in there too is, one, it's a good ball, but two, this is something that I'd like to see, especially because the Niners do see a lot of man pressure. People like to bring pressure against Jimmy, but to see these things in the playbook a little bit more, to allow them to do these things. And it doesn't even have to. This could be a throw to the bottom too. It doesn't have to be a throw to the top that's across the field. It's in all reality, it's
don't
like
got to be a far hash throw.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a far hash throw. It really doesn't. So.
Yeah, these are definitely really difficult to defend.
Yep. So I don't understand why we don't take more shots like this. I really don't. Again, that's not even. That's a good ball, but it's not like it's this laser that's out of this world. He just throws a good ball, and it makes it a catchable ball for his receiver. Aaron Rodgers made a living off doing it with Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams. So, right here, what do we got?
George Kittle touchdown.
The George Kittle touchdown, right? So, it's just 2-man here. That play side safety gets wide, and Kittle's running. It's like a basic route or like a deep dig, over route, whatever you want to call this. I think it's more of like an over route where he'll climb to the far side of the field, and Jimmy does a good job on this, right? So we got it looks like 3 jet protection.
I want to ask you first before we get into what do you think about Jimmy's feet here? This is one of those. Is it like, well, he just can't get his feet in there? Because look,
Yeah, so that one, Trent's getting pushed back a little bit. So there's no real like, hey, I can step. That's more of like a negative step. So this is kind of one of those ones I'm talking about where his feet get a little bit more squared up, instead of stepping more, I guess, towards the opposite hash, just a touch more. But I could see why he doesn't, just because he's got Trent in his face, and he obviously doesn't know where that guy's going to get pushed. But at the end of the day, it's not even necessarily about his feet here. It's about giving his playmakers an opportunity to make a play. Right? This is a good job of getting your guy, your number one tight end, a play on a safety where George Kittle's what, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5",
Yeah.
probably against a DB that's maybe 6 foot, and get him the ball. Let him toss it up there and get him the ball. And that's what I'd like to see more of too. We've talked about this multiple times. I think the Niners could use more plays like this, more guys like this. Jawan Jennings is supposed to be that guy because Brandon Ayuk and Debo aren't necessarily these dudes. And people are going to say, well, Ayuk's got the long arms. Yeah, but Ayuk is not 6'5" either. If you get a tall receiver, this becomes a bailout threat in the red zone. I think you'd see more of this stuff happening. So that's a great play. That's a good ball to let your guy go up and make a play.
Right.
Bottom line. People are going to say, oh, it's a shitty ball. That's fine. That's your take on it. Well, he's just allowing his guy to make a play on it. So here we go. There's a little pop step from Jimmy right there. I threw this in there because you don't see this a ton with Jimmy. But he does a good little conflict climb here. It's unfortunate that like Jimmy starts to get a little bit of momentum. They stack 8 guys in the box. It's cover one here, and this is where the play action works. So you see the safety roll down. Okay, so they'll put 8 guys in the box here. It's against a heavy run set looking package. Obviously, this is a it's 22 personnel, or even, I think it's 22 personnel here. And so they bring 8 guys in the box. That safety rolls down, play action works, boom, he bites. He doesn't know who has the ball. Then he has to bail out late. We have good separation. Jimmy steps up, does a nice little conflict climb where he'll push through that arm tackle, climbs up, hits a little pop step, and drives the ball to Ayuk for a nice play, but it ends up getting called back anyways because it was holding. So
yeah. Mike McGlinchey is horrible.
Yeah, Mike McGlinchey. It was not ideal. Just gets beat inside. I mean, it's just not great. Not great protection at all. Still a good ball, though.
I thought that was a great ball. I think between like kind of the step up and moving in the pocket, that was one thing somebody said earlier, that he doesn't have good pocket awareness, and I thought this one was pretty good. Step up, slide, and you call that a conflict climb?
Yeah, conflict climb. So where you're, instead of a hitch up in the pocket where you hitch and reset, is where you're basically evading. So you would push through with that right shoulder to avoid an arm tackle and try and reset to your base.
This is
the Jedi says he doesn't climb. If he doesn't climb, then I guess I should probably quit my job then. We got a bunch of quarterback gurus in here. There, a lot of them that are scared to show their real names too. You know what? Maybe I should. I'm going to do a quarterback training one day. I'm going to do it for all the Niner fans, and have them come out, and we'll do a quarterback training so we can teach them some of the quarterback verbiage and some of the throws and some of all these things. We'll do it on an open field, and whoever wants to show up can show up, and we'll go over some things on tape and put everybody to the test too.
All right, here we go. We got
this is one right here that I put on here for you, Croc. So if you want to talk about this, again, it's a great ball. I think there was some confusion in the coverage, and I don't know if you want to talk based off of our corner here on the bottom, sitting and almost reading as if he has any type of flat threat. He just gets toasted. It's not.
Well,
this is not great here.
So I think it's quarters, and so he's kind of playing the sticks because eventually at a certain depth, quarters turns into man.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. In
And
quarters, that's fine if it's quarters, but there's no flat threat right now. So why are we sitting
right,
still?
well, the issue is it was third and long, but I think he's thinking like, oh, he's gonna run like a deep stop route or a deep curl or out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I would be thinking. Like, it's 3rd and 15. I
Right.
don't, I don't think he was expecting just a straight go
Just
route.
dude to run right by him,
And
right?
they did a really good job of running kind of a quarters beater. Like just see right here, attacking this safety's eyes with this defender here, so that now it really turns into man.
Yep. And I think that receiver on the bottom does another good job of taking more of that rocker step. Um,
Yep,
boom,
little
outside, gets
outside
him,
stem.
outside stem. And then what happens? Takes him right across the middle over the top. So just another good route, good execution. It's tough to defend those things. When you're putting Hufanga in a bind there, and the corner gets beat, and
I don't even
Mahomes
think you're
recognizes it.
necessarily putting Hufanga in the bind.
Yeah, well,
Which
he's
hold on.
they're attacking him with the other post basically,
Yeah,
and so
well,
now he
it
has to
it
play
puts the
one or the other.
corner. It puts the corner in the bind because now I'm on an island with this receiver
Right.
and it's third and long, but I have to protect the sticks. But then, oh man, like he push a vert and they take the safety out of here. Which again, I want to highlight Hufanga here because for a guy, everybody said coverage liability. He essentially once it goes to a certain depth, he's manned up on this guy pretty much,
Right.
right? He's gonna match him vertically. So now it's like, all right, it's on. It's me and you. And for somebody who's not the fastest, I mean, the way he's playing these routes, boom, look at that.
Yep. They
That
had
ain't bad.
separation, good route, attacked it the right way, got the corner to turn his
Yeah,
hips. It's like, you know,
Hufunga's
it,
legit.
it's but from the receiver perspective here, that's like textbook. Really good route.
Yeah, good job tagging the outside leverage a little bit.
Oh no, Pat underthrew the ball. Is oh, are people going to be mad at me for saying that? I'm joking.
Did you
Relax,
want this
people.
on here?
Yes, I did actually. Go back to it. Okay, so here, this is something I want to see more often from the 49ers because I didn't see it a ton. Okay, this is when they're starting to go hurry up here. And this is something I don't see with the Bills a lot either. I watch obviously a lot of Bills games because of Josh. There's times where he gets pressure and there's not a ton of bailouts below. There's not a ton of bailouts underneath. And right here, they bring pressure off the edge. Obviously, it looks like there's some confusion based off of the depth of the safety and where the Mike backer is. Nobody's playing the hook area. Jennings does a great job of realizing there's nobody in front of me. So what is he going to do? Sit in the area where the guy blitzes from,
Yeah.
replaces him. The Niners offense would move much more efficiently on blitz packages against the defense if we did this more often. This was the only time I think I saw this happen this game, and they got pressured a ton. They brought teams do this every single week to the 49ers, and this is one of the few times I've seen it in the last 4 weeks where somebody actually sat and replaced the blitzer and gave Jimmy a dump off right now. So I would like to see more of it. I'm hoping to see more of it to help out the quarterback, just to help out the offense as a whole. It's playing on the fly, and you're in the NFL. I don't care if you're a rookie or if you're a 10-year veteran. That from a receiver is taught in college. Somebody blitzes, replace the blitzer, and it makes it a lot easier for the quarterback. So, anyways. At this point, I think this was the last one here. I think Jimmy was credited with the fumble here, and a lot of people got on him because of the fumble. But if you look at the play from the sideline, there's not very many. I don't think there's anybody open actually. So it's just crappy to see. This is at the end of the game. It's soft coverage. Right here, there's nobody open. Unless I'm watching something completely different. Yeah, that's
Well,
it's
I
at the
think
end of the
this
game.
would
They're
be
not going to throw the
the only thing maybe see as kind of an outlet.
Right, but you're trying to push the ball downfield at the end of the game when there's 6 minutes left and you're down by however many points. If you throw that, the clock is still running. So I get why he's looking down the field, anyways.
Okay.
Um, Again, criticize me for defending Jimmy for looking down the field, but that's on the backside of the concept, anyways. So he's looking to the right side, and then he'll go back to it as he's getting pressure, right? So he wants to check it down to use check. He gets back there with his eyes, but by that time he already has a guy on him, right? So Jimmy's reading the concept. By the time he gets back to use check, what happens? He's already got a man on him. So Jimmy's looking to the right side of the field, got a man on him. McGlinchey gets beat. And the one thing that bothered me, it's like when you go look at the end zone camera on this, McGlinchey gets beat inside and almost just instantly stops. Instead of like getting beat and trying to drive the guy into the ground or something, he just stands there and lets him get beat inside, and then he just bats the ball down. Like that stuff bothers me because I feel like it's just a total lack of effort. Like as soon as he gets beat inside.
And not just that, he did this right here with Trey Lance as well. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't think McGlinchey likes Trey Lance." Look, you can tell who the veterans are for. Watch McGlinchey after he gets up the sack strip.
Just stands there, watches. Oh shit! All right, I'm out of here. Yeah, it happens a lot more, and I don't put it in the film. But he gets beat inside and just like stops right there, like he just stops.
Okay, I see what
and
you're
lets him
saying.
go inside. That's what I'm trying to say. Like he'll literally stop and let him go right back inside, and that's why he got the sack. Like, what are we doing? Try and drive him at least. Try and make something happen, but he just lets him stick his arm out. And then Jimmy gets the credited for the fumble on this. I would think that everybody here in the chat is intelligent enough, and I don't know, is intelligent enough to realize there's nobody open on the field. Jimmy's sitting in a semi-clean pocket, right, or a pretty clean pocket overall, and McGlinchey.
He's probably looking at it like if
he's buying
Jimmy
himself
is
some
looking
time.
at
He's
it
looking through the
from
read, and then what happens?
Here?
It's not like Jimmy G is looking at the right tackle or looking at the defensive end. He's keeping his eyes up the field, right? So he's not feeling this defensive end put his damn arm out or watching him put his arm out. So this one, you could say this is on Jimmy. I think you're batshit crazy. There's nobody open down the field. By the time he tries to get back to use check and check it down, he's already got somebody on him. And right here, McGlinchey just stops. I don't know. I have no no explanation.
So what does Jimmy have to do to win?
To win what? To win over the Niner fans?
To win over the fans.
I don't know. Everybody's in here hating on Jimmy. Again, is Jimmy the starting quarterback or is he the backup quarterback?
Jimmy Garoppolo is the starting quarterback, but was the backup quarterback.
Was the backup quarterback, right? So he's never supposed to be in there anyways. Okay. So we're supposed to be past this point. And everybody wants to say also, hey, why is Jimmy still here? Because Kyle's offense is so complex, right? That you couldn't bring somebody else in right now and teach them the offense and expect them to run it at this level, given the fact that Trey went down. Okay. And if really, in all reality, if Kyle thought that Jimmy is as bad as everybody says he is, then it would be on Kyle for not releasing Jimmy sooner or letting him go sooner. So that's my take on it. If Jimmy,
do you think that Brock Purdy is
and I've told people, hey, look, I'm tired of watching the Niners lose too. I don't give a shit who's quarterback. I don't care if it's Eric Crocker playing quarterback, right? I don't care if it's Trey Lance. I don't care if it's Jimmy. I don't care if it's Sudfeld. I don't care if it's whoever the hell. Put anybody in there as long as the Niners are winning, right? That's at the end of the day, you want to see the Niners win games. And I don't care who's leading. Obviously, it's wishful thinking to say, hey, I want a Josh Allen. I want Pat Mahomes. And people think that Trey Lance is going to be that type of guy, hence why the Niners drafted Trey Lance. It's unfortunate Trey Lance is hurt, but to think that he is going to be Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes this year or this upcoming year is completely unrealistic expectations. And I've said this before, he's going to have a ton of pressure on him because everybody is so eager to see him come in and be this completely different dynamic player and not make any mistakes, and he's going to throw the ball all over the field. There is going to be a learning curve. There's going to be errors that are going to be made. And he's going to make mistakes that are going to piss people off. And there's going to be mistakes that happen at times where people are going to say, oh, go back to this guy, or we need another quarterback. It's going to take,
and we've seen that, right? I mean, we saw that from the jump, even with Trey Lance. I mean, he got judged. It was, I've never, matter of fact, I've never seen anything like that for a guy that, barely had the opportunity to really play and get his feet wet.
Yep.
And how people were just like, he's a bust. And it's like, dang, like he can't even.
Yeah.
Got Eddie here. Eddie says, appreciate the analysis, Greg and Croc. Keep it up. Don't let the negative comments discourage you.
There is no negative comments to discourage me. All I think is I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of film and went over it for 4 hours. I've been in a quarterback room. I do it for a living. The point where you start getting haters is when you're doing something right. If I was doing a bad job up here and agreeing with everybody in here, then what difference would it be from anybody else? What difference would it be from everybody else?
Right. I talked about that on Twitter today, where especially on Locked On 49ers, trying to find that balance between not being too negative, but Locked On 49ers, I mean, we record, it's every day, right? It's 5 episodes a week. And it's hard because you want to tell it how it is with what you're seeing, right? And give your analysis from that standpoint. But then, you look at the comments and it's like, oh, these guys are too negative. Never listening to this again. It's like, man, like we're just telling you, calling it how we see it. Which right now, how could you say anything positive about the 49ers right now, who have lost to the Chicago Bears, Seattle Seahawks, the Atlanta Falcons? Now, I'll give it, the Chiefs. But I mean, even then, the Chiefs in the fashion that they lost. It's like, right now they're not. It's not. This isn't. They're not displaying a good team out there. Now, hopefully that changes. You got LA this weekend. I'm going to the game. Are you?
I didn't know that you were going to the game.
Yeah, I'm going.
I'm probably not going to the game because I'm going to I'm actually going to the South next week. I'm going to be at Georgia versus Tennessee in Athens, Georgia next week.
You going with Tyler Bray?
No, I actually haven't told Tyler yet for the reason that he's probably going to be pissed off at me. So I've been waiting to tell Tyler. But yeah, I'm going out there, with a buddy of mine that trains quarterbacks in SoCal, and then a quarterback that we've trained. Danny trains one of the quarterbacks, so he's going out there with us. But yeah, we're gonna go watch that game and hang out in the South and do a little SEC tailgate and see what happens. Should be a good game. So, and I'm looking forward to it. And I get to see our guy Kendall Milton, who's one of the running backs from Georgia, who trains with us at our facility here, Athletic Performance.
Number 3.
Yeah, number 2. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be good. So that's another quarterback. You want to talk about draft stuff? Hendon Hooker is absolutely killing it right now. He's doing very well.
So what are they saying about Hendon Hooker? Because I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if that's Quincy's guy or not, but Hendon Hooker looks like he can do it all, man.
Why has he got to be a Quincy guy?
No, I think he is a Quincy guy because I seen Quincy going to
because he's
Knoxville.
A black quarterback, huh?
Absolutely not. But I've seen Quincy post that he was going to Knoxville, I think, on one of his flights. So that was just my assumption that he's not going to Knoxville to go hang out at the bar. I'm assuming he was going to work with Hendon and some of the guys. So, but I think that the thing that needs to happen for the 49ers is a combination of everything, total team play. And that's like that for a lot of teams, but the offense is digging themselves in holes, and it doesn't just revolve around Jimmy doing things that Jimmy does. It's everybody has to play together, because there's plays that you saw earlier. There's plays that are dialed up that should work, and one guy misses their assignment and it turns into a shitty play or 2-yard gain. So everybody's got to be working on the same page. There's got to be some more leadership. There's got to be some more accountability. And it's unfortunate on both sides of the ball that there's not a ton of depth from that perspective. Like the O line, there's a couple guys that are making shitty plays here and there, but then there's a couple other guys that are doing really well. Um, there's some receivers that are doing something. I think Brandon Ayuk is playing lights out right now. I think Brandon Ayuk has been arguably the MVP of the offense to this point, given what he's done.
Why don't they feature him more? Is it just
And
a thing
I don't
of,
know.
well,
And
we
I
just
really
have all
don't know.
these?
I don't know, because when he gets the ball, he does a lot of good things. But I think that you watch him when he doesn't get the ball, and that's what we talked about with Debo. When Brandon Ayuk does not get the ball, look at his runoff routes. Look at what he's doing to help the team when the ball's not going to him. He's full speed on his routes. He makes it look like he's getting the ball. He's blocking well. It's not. That's not. I wish I was seeing that more from Debo. I wish I was seeing that from other receivers, and I think that that will start to take a toll on the offense. And I think that we're seeing that right now. Offenses are built in spacing and separation, especially in the West Coast offense. And if you don't get guys pushing downfield as hard as they should be, you don't get guys running full speed, the separation, the spacing, the timing is going to be thrown off, and it's just not going to work out for everybody. So that is my take on it. But I really like what Brandon Ayuk is doing right now. I think he fits well in the offense. He looks like the MVP. I think we need to get him the ball more. I think that Brandon Ayuk should be taking some of these shots down the field. And maybe Kyle Shanahan doesn't do that with Brandon Ayuk because Brandon Ayuk draws attention to him. So instead he'll let Ray McLeod or Danny Gray run down the field instead. But I'd like to see Ayuk on some of those deeper balls. And we did it a couple weeks ago against the Falcons, where he ran that corner and Jimmy threw a deep ball to him. Beautiful ball on the sideline, and he got called back. So unfortunately, that's the case on that. But I really like Ayuk. I think that he's bringing, especially from last year, because there was a big negative connotation as far as Brandon Ayuk, and he wasn't really getting in the, early. And Shanahan said he had some things to work on, and I think that he's improved immensely at the receiver position and within this offense.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk. It's been awesome to see him come along, and I know I've challenged him. I see Brian Peacock in here, and I've talked about, like, hey, man, I want to see him beat man coverage more, like, be that guy. And I think now we're starting to see it. Now, the next step is, what I would like to see from him is a little bit more elusiveness in the run after catch. And he dialed into that, and we're cooking.
But that's how he was in college, though, right? Wasn't he one of the leaders in Yak in college as well?
I believe him and Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, Juwan Jennings. So both of those guys. And I see somebody says mediocre speed at wide receiver. I think that we have some guys that can run, Steven. I think that we do have some guys that can push it downfield, but I'm with you, because the offense as it is predicated off of a lot of underneath stuff, right? Even going back and watching the Chiefs, I watched the whole film on the Chiefs. The Chiefs threw the ball downfield, I think, like 3 or 4 times, and they got a couple of good completions, which helps. But they're doing the same stuff. It's just a modified West Coast offense where you're creating spacing, good pick plays. You get your guys in space and you dump them off the ball and let them do their thing. And that's kind of what the Niners offense is built on. But I would like to see that one burner, that guy that can take the top off. Especially
I think that's why they drafted Danny Gray.
Gray, all right. That's the Danny Gray pick right there. But my thing with I'm not hating on Danny Gray. My thing with the Danny Gray pick is how tall is Danny Gray? 6 foot?
He's like 6 foot 185 or something like that.
Okay, and then how tall is Ayuk?
Close to
5'11", 6 foot.
Yeah,
how tall is Debo Samuel?
Yeah, 5'11".
They're all the same type of guy in a sense, right? And then you got Juwan Jennings.
You just don't see it's not like a basketball lineup, right? Like if you think about the Atlanta Falcons when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, you had Julio Jones, 6'3". You got Mohamed Sanu, 6'2". You got Taylor Gabriel, 5'8" or whatever, and he's that speedster. He's that jitterbug, and there was a little bit more diversity with how they kind of built that roster. And right now, the 49ers do have guys that are similar in stature. I think their skill set is a little different. Oh, but they do have somebody said Debo is 6 foot. For real? No way. Yeah, he was a shade under 6 foot. So I think maybe at Clemson, not Clemson, excuse me, South Carolina, he was listed at like 6 foot probably. When he measured in for his official stuff, Debo is a shade under 6 feet tall.
Yeah, and Steve, he does. He has that. Somebody said he has that Steve Smith bulky body type. He does. Steve Smith wasn't as big. I think Debo's probably. We talked about earlier. I think he's probably walking around at like. He looks like he's walking around like a running back, 220. Steve Smith was very twitchy. Um,
I
he
think I
just
think Debo was walking around heavier than 220.
yeah, he might be heavier than that, but Steve Smith was very twitchy. Hines Ward was pretty twitchy. Those guys could block. They could catch the ball in traffic. They were tough dudes, but they at the top. Those guys were really good route runners, though. Especially Steve Smith. Those were set up route running guys. Debo is not a. He's not an artistic route runner, if that makes sense. And I've watched it again over and over, and I watched the film, and it's like he caught that ball. It was like a high comeback or whatever down the field, and Jimmy throws it high and he makes the catch. But that same route, he doesn't even look like he's running, and it doesn't even look like it's a. It looks like he doesn't even want the ball. Almost, he's not pushing upfield, not getting the DBs to get on their heels. It's almost like a 3/4 push upfield, and then turns around and the ball's on him, so he catches or he jumps and catches it. So I know Kyle's drafted a tall receiver. Who was that kid from Baylor? He was hurt all the time. I'm drawing a blank. Wasn't the
Jalen
Baylor
Hurd.
kid? Jalen Hurd. He was supposed to be that tall receiver. Obviously, he didn't work out. You got Jawan Jennings, who's pretty tall. We'll see what's going to happen with him. But I would like, we talked about it. Some people said last night Chase Claypool would be one of those guys that maybe the Niners should trade for or go after. The problem is you don't have a ton of equity or draft capital to trade. It might be a 3rd-round pick. It might be a 2nd-round pick. I don't know what they're asking for. But the Niners are going to have to trade a player to go
He said
get.
he said Debo listed at 5'10". Debo's listed at 6 foot tall,
Yeah.
but he measured in a shade under 6 foot. He's not short. Well, he's not like 5'9" or something. He ain't like that. 5'10". He's a legit almost 6 foot tall. And they're all kind of hovering around that same range.
But you know what? Last time, am I on the 49ers payroll because of my absolute ignorance towards Jimmy G? What gives?
That was what I said.
I wish I was on the payroll. Unfortunately,
Well,
I'd love to work with Jimmy. I really would.
yeah, and you said you love to work with Trey as well.
I hope I do. Hopefully this offseason I can. But no, I'm not going to pay any mind to it. So, but yeah, I wish I was on the 49ers payroll some days.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Greg, appreciate you. Safe travels to the dirty South.
No, I'm not going this weekend. I'm going next weekend. Next weekend.
Oh, next week.
I'm gonna have to train quarterbacks this upcoming weekend in Modesto. Yeah, my son's telling me tomorrow. My son's 5 over here, and he starts going to quarterback training with me. So I'm gonna be training quarterbacks, this weekend, and then so I'll miss next weekend. So I'll be working.
All right. Well, all right, man. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everybody that contributed to a great show. I think even with I don't want to say the negative comments, but the comments that pushed back, I think it allowed me to dig deeper in some of my responses. I think you did a really good job of that as well. So, everybody, thank you, and we'll be right back here next Tuesday evening, and we'll try to go a little bit earlier. We'll see because his son's flag football is over. So today. I was gone all weekend. I was in California, and then I came back, and I wanted to go to my daughter's soccer game. So that kind of pushed the show back a little bit. But
yeah, we'll be able to go earlier next week. Yeah, I'm feeling it.
All right. Well, all right, man. Everybody, we'll see y'all. Hey, and if you're on Twitter, if you watch on Twitter, go ahead and head over to YouTube, type in Eric Crocker, and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on your way out. And for everybody else, man, I'll see y'all tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific. I got somebody that's coming on to specifically talk about some of the injuries that the 49ers have been going through, soft tissue injuries, the injury history of Javon Kinlaw. Should we be worried about that? She's gonna bring like great insight, and she's a 49er fan. I actually met her out in Atlanta, so excited to get her on. So got a guest coming on tomorrow. Talk about that right here live. So hit the click the notification bell, all that good stuff. And got Peacock here. He says, "I like late night Crocky and Greg. Let's go, let's go."
Appreciate you, Peacock.
Yeah, but everybody else, man, we'll see y'all next week. Oh, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky, and all that good stuff. Locked on 49ers, 5 days a week. Locked on NFL Draft as well. Until then, I'm out. Peace.